Oh.
White and blue we wear with pride. On the pitch where dreams collide. High road roaring every night. Spotlight on Spurs, feel the fight. Spotlight on Spurs. Take the field. This is passion, nothing concealed. Through the tackles, joy ignites. Spotlight on Spurs, burning lights. Feel the tempo, sweet and wild. London's warriors never mild. Every challenge we endure. Spotlight.
What's up, guys? Luke here from Spotlight on Spurs. An international week. It's obviously going to be a quiet week in Tottenham Hotspur. No, Spurs always have something to talk about, whether it's Pochettino in or out, whether it's De Zerbi in or out. Only yesterday we were saying Kulusevski is never ever going to return after a terrible knee injury. Turns out he's only just had a little bit more surgery. There's always something going on, and we absolutely love to see it sometimes, depending on what it is. But hey, we've got Chris back with us yet again. How are you doing, my man?
Hello, mate. All good. It's as you say, international week, so we can we don't have to watch Tottenham, which is sometimes a positive, but every day you're just looking out for what new topic comes up and what's the next discussion or potential next mess up or whatever it may be. But yeah, other than that, all good.
Just always something going on. I do feel a sense of sort of relax a little bit at this moment in time. It's almost like calm before the storm, maybe. Like there's not too much going on. There's loads of rumors, there's loads of nonsense, but there's not actually a lot going on, obviously, with it being the international break. And I think a lot of people have kind of just taking this time just to kind of relax and chill a little bit before that last sort of push before the end of the season. So for anyone that doesn't know, guys, we are doing essentially what is a call-in show. If anyone wants to come on, I need to actually change that because we no longer are on 2K. We have already hit 2K, which is unbelievable. So thank you very much to everyone that's subscribed already. We're now on the road to 3K because that's just how it works. You get to 2, you jump straight to 3. That's it. But it's a call-in show. We're going to have anybody come in and have a little chat about anything that they want to. It doesn't have to specifically be around what's going on right now. We can talk about what happened previously, previous managers, previous players, whatever you want. We can absolutely have a discussion about it. You can come on and ask me and Chris questions. You can just have your own bit. We can ask you questions, whatever you like. We have got some bits and pieces that we'll quickly run over just as a general discussion, because we obviously haven't spoken since the Forest game, which I was at. And yeah, we'll kind of go from there. I'll pop it in the chat. And if anyone wants to join, the only requirements you have is you need to be on camera and you just need to be respectful. We don't want to be screaming, shouting, and slagging too many people off, basically. So, I mean, where else do you start, Chris? But the Forest game. Let's start with the pre-game stuff, right? Obviously, as I said, I was part of it. I went along. It was the atmosphere was absolutely ridiculous. It was so good that there's just a party atmosphere almost. But obviously, the rumor at the time was that there was about 15,000 fans. Some have said it was 10,000, but 10 to 15 seems to be the number that's been bandied around. Before the game actually kicked off, and when you see the scenes and everything else, what was your opinion of it before the game in terms of what was organised?
It's positive because it shows that the fans are still obviously back in the club, back in the team, trying to produce some sort of momentum as well, acting as the 12th man to try and let the players know, look, there's a lot of issues and that we're not happy, but we will still rally behind you and we'll still try and get you through the games and hopefully give you a bit of confidence that the fans are behind you. Because, I mean, the stadium atmosphere, from what I can tell, has always been really good. But then there's been the booing and there's obviously been the jeers, and towards the end of the games, and rightly so in some points, the fans have obviously let everyone know that they're the disbelief. So it was good that the fans are still, and I mean, I think the fans will turn up every game. I can't see it getting to a point where the fans would, once it's your team, it's your team. You don't change. You can't step away. You end up, as much as you don't want to watch it, sometimes you end up still sitting there going on your phone trying to figure out what the scores are, or you end up going, oh, I'll just put it on, I'll watch it, or I'll go to the game, even if everything during the week's telling you that you don't want to be a part of it, you don't want to know what's going on, you want to block it out. So I always thought it was a very good positive. I was gutted that I couldn't get down and come to it. But yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff online about some negativity around it, and I think it's always going to be one of them things. If we win the game, then it's always going to be a big positive and a massive shout out, and it's going to be all gravy. And then when we don't win the game, and we obviously lose in the manner that we lose as well, 3-0 is a big suffer, and we didn't really take chances, and the game wasn't that great. The first half, I thought it was good, but I think when you suffer a loss like that after all that build up, it always is going to end up going downhill, and there's going to be people that obviously turn around and say that they don't agree with it. We're going to get bantered from other clubs because I've seen, what are you celebrating? You didn't win anything. What's going on? So the fans are trying to do everything they can to prove and show that they're behind this team, but results on the pitch are just not aligning with that, unfortunately, and performances as well.
Yeah, listen. The whole I said this in a few WhatsApp groups this week, just around the whole bantering situation. Let's just be clear. It's the whole point. That's football fandom. It doesn't matter how good or bad or negative or whatever your club is. It's that banter, that taking the mick. It's all part of being a rival fan. Like let's be absolutely clear.
Yeah.
If Arsenal go on and win the league, say, then we will be sitting there in every single possible way trying to take the mick out of them, despite the fact we are where we are. That is what football fans do. But so I think we need to almost, like, I know some fans have said, oh, it's so embarrassing. Like, basically, we become an easy target. It's like, hang on, guys. We're 17th. We're an easy target regardless. Like, this is an embarrassing season. We have been embarrassing. Forget about what's happening pre-match and what the fans are doing. We have been an embarrassment. So I think we get so hung up as not just a fan base, but I think as football fans in general about, oh, how will it look like if X see this? Or how would it look like? What are they going to say? Who cares? Because we're just going to take the mick regardless. I mean, on Sunday, we just went and got obviously absolutely smashed by Forest. And there were plenty of Spurs fans all over X and YouTube and everything else taking the mick out of Arsenal because they lost the cup final. Arsenal were sitting top of the league and all this, that, and the other. But that's part of football fandom. So don't be worried that other fans are taking the mick out of you, because if we were top, they would be doing exactly the same thing, finding ways, like boring Arsenal or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. There's people are going to take the mick, whether you're high fly or whether you're really down low. So for me, I wouldn't really take too much to that. There's not really much to go into for the Forest game, obviously. But what was your thoughts on that game as a whole? And I guarantee you're very happy by the end of it that you didn't come down, because it wasn't very nice. It was brilliant all before. It was brilliant even up to half time. But then, towards the end of the game, it wasn't a nice feeling.
Yeah, I think first half we played really well. There was a lot of intent. There was a lot of I was quite shocked that we didn't score. I didn't know how we didn't score the first half, and then to concede pretty much bang on the 45th minute from a corner where I think we had about 8 and they had 2. It's just one of them things. And then I think that was a real kicker for the players. They come at the halftime substitutions. When I see them, I didn't quite get it. I thought there might have been a reason why. Maybe Van der Ven was injured. I know he come out and said he'd like to play left back, and he's got the attributes to play left back. But I just don't know why he took him off. It was a strange one. He's sort of one of the first players on the team sheet when you're saying it. So why would you take him off at half time if there wasn't an injury there? And then I think his replacement, Adogi, didn't have a good second half. And then I think a lot of individual players sort of just off the boil again, and then we concede 2 and we concede 3. And again, I think it's just individuals not focusing, not doing their jobs. Maybe we're lacking that attacking instinct. Xavi Simons not starting. I think after midweek when he played out of his skin, looked like one of the liveliest players on the pitch. I thought he would have been. I would have named the same lineup as I said last week. For me, it should be the same lineup with a few potential, like if Solanke might be changed for Richarlison or whatever it may be. So the fact that he didn't go with that, it was just confusing from the start. And again, I think it went back to the formation. When you see the lineup come out, you're trying to figure out what formation it is, and it could have been a number of formations. And it's not like we are playing a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1, or he's definitely going to stick with 3 at the back. You're always guessing what we're playing and how we're setting up.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, someone's put it in the chat. What position was Porro supposed to be playing? Was he at right wing? Was he right back? Was it 4-4-2, as you said? But what I found quite strange is that obviously we can tell, and everybody knows that Forest are really strong in that middle. Sangare, Elliot Anderson, and Morgan Gibbs-White are 3 very, very good central midfield options. And not only did we not have experience in there in terms of your Palinias, who's been there, done it, got the t-shirt sort of thing. We obviously had 2 youngsters in there in Gray and Sarr trying to compete against these 3. And Gibbs-White was just picking holes in everything. He was just finding the pockets. I think for his goal, he drops into a pocket, nobody's covering, and then he kind of wanders into a position. Sarr half picks him up, and then he gets lost and everything else. But it's really weird when you look at, I know we said with Thomas Frank on occasions he worried so much about the opposition, he didn't worry about us enough. But in this aspect, he's almost like not gone, they're really strong in midfield. Maybe I need to worry about that a little bit more. And as you said, bringing Xavi in and playing that 3 in midfield maybe would have made it a little bit more of a competition in there.
Yeah, it might have given them again, we look at it and you know that Elliot Anderson and Morgan Gibbs-White are going to try and they're going to be the ones trying to make things work in that middle. They're going to be the ones that are playing the balls and the give and goes and all that stuff. So you might end up saying, look, these are their target players. These are the ones that we need to make sure we don't let them get on the ball. Don't give them. There was a game years ago, I think it was against Chelsea, and I'm pretty sure he had, I think it was Pochettino, had Dele Alli marking, literally. He just man-marked one player the whole game, and it just stopped Chelsea dead. They couldn't do nothing. And sometimes you need to just say to your midfielders, look, your job is to stop him playing. That's all you've got to do this game. You just follow him around the pitch and stop him. And when you're up against, and sometimes in the position that we're in and the way that we're playing, we sometimes need that to just have one player stop the other team. And I mean, Forest ain't got a team of superstars either. That's not obviously a known fact. But if you've got a Sarr or a Gray, again, man marking Gibbs-White, you don't let him out of your sight. You just mark him. That's your job. And everyone else, this is the other way we're going to play. When they've got the ball, it takes Gibbs-White out of the game. It takes one of their playmakers out of the game. So it means that they're not going to be as effective as they normally would be. Having Xavi Simons in that midfield 3, if it was Sarr, Gray and Simons, again, Elliot Anderson or Sangare is going to have to turn around and go, right, one of us have got to pick him up because he's going to end up getting the ball and he's going to be the one that's going to be driving through for Tottenham. So for me, you need to play to your strengths. And when you've got a player like Xavi Simons who's on fire, and he was, I mean, in a game against Atletico Madrid, 2 goals, looked very, very lively. To not start him, I just don't understand, because for a fact, Forest would have been sitting there going, he's one that we need to be looking at for, because he's their main playmaker. He's the one that's going to create stuff. So when he doesn't start, probably sitting there going, brilliant, because who else is going to create anything?
Yeah, 100%. As I say, I think that they would have looked in that midfield and gone, right, well, we're going to dominate in there now. And I think that was the telling part, right? I mean, up until half time, I think Spurs done actually pretty decent. It was very, very tight game. There weren't plenty of chances, but as you said, we had a flurry of corners. Obviously I was in the stadium, so it's really unique seeing that sort of difference in being able to be there, see it, how you see it. So for instance, with the goal for Morgan Gibbs-White, it didn't look to me like Vicario basically had any sort of chance with it, really. It looked to me like it was practically he just smashed it straight in. And then when I see it back on the replay, it was like it's kind of hit Vicario. He's now nearly sat on it. It's kind of unlucky in a way. Should he do better, whatever? But it's really weird seeing that difference, right? And it was just, you could just see we were so open. But at half time, when they made the decisions and the subs, I'm sitting there thinking, and I think everybody was kind of like, why is that? Where's that? Why has he decided to go with that? I mean, we played on Sunday. We had what was it? Bergvall, Gallagher, and Porro as our right wingers. Like, what is that? Like, it's just absolute mad, right?
And then again, you go back to the whole substitution at half time. I'm sure it was Spence and Van der Ven that were the ones who have been pulled up before for maybe mixing up the camp and not being a bit vocal. Maybe they've gone in the dressing room at half time and said something, and Tudor's gone, do you know what? Not having that attitude, off you come. It's just not good enough. And
yeah, and that's some of the, I mean, YouTube is full of rumors, right? And X is full of rumors, but that is one thing that's been looked at immediately, right? Because they did come out in the press conference afterwards, and he said that obviously it wasn't Tudor, unfortunately, but his assistant came out and said this wasn't an injury or anything like that. This was, from what he understands, it was a tactical decision.
And just on that as well, as you just said there, unfortunately for Tudor, I mean, football's football and it's a business and everyone gets involved in it, but it's a tough one, because I mean, a geezer's just found out he's lost his dad after that game, so it's a very tough one, and you've got to just, from a human point of view, you've got to send your condolences, and you need to just, I don't know what words to say to that, because it's not like it's a nice situation to be in, but you've just lost 3-0, and then you the final whistle goes and you hear that news. It's so unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously heartbreaking, and regardless, I think Spurs fans have got very heated in certain aspects with particular managers, Ange being one of them. It's almost like we celebrate any sort of downfall when someone has when they leave. And regardless of your feelings on Tudor, whether he was the right appointment, wrong appointment, whether he's done well, not well, obviously you never wish that on anyone.
No, of course not.
But in some ways, does it make it a little bit easier for Spurs to make that decision, because it's a mutual thing then? Because he's going to, let's be fair, if he was on a 5-year contract, 3-year contract, is slightly different, right? But the fact that he's got a couple of months left, he's just lost his dad, he's probably thinking, the last thing I want is Tottenham. Like, Tottenham is an absolute pain at the best of times. Do you know what I mean?
For me, it goes either way. So Spurs look at it and go, look, take the time. There's what, seven weeks left of the season. Take the time, go away, mutual consent. We do that. Go and spend the time with your family, because of obviously circumstances, and I think Spurs fans would probably say, we wish you all the best. It's not been good, but with the circumstances, we wish you all the best. The other thing is, he might turn around and say, look, I need a distraction. I need something to focus on, and I need something to potentially get me out of. Because everyone's different. Everyone handles grief in different ways. So for me personally, it goes two ways. We're on Thursday now. The game was on Sunday. I think if they was going to sack him, it should have been done by now. I think that announcement should have come out. And we should be looking at what the new the new structure looks like. Because 4 days later, I mean, the international break finishes next weekend, and then this FA Cup the weekend after, which obviously we're not in.
Yeah.
And you'd want someone in, and not all the players at Spurs have gone away with their national teams, but there'll be players now at the training ground every day still who have not gone away, being trained by probably the assistant manager and the coaching team still, and everyone's in the back of their minds thinking, well, what's going on? Because there's loads of rumours. So for me, these decisions should have been made Monday, Tuesday. And again, you take into consideration the unfortunate circumstances with Tudor losing his father. But again, it is a business, and sometimes you need to just have these unfortunate conversations at bad times.
But could you also argue that because we don't have a game that close, they have got a bit of freedom to make this decision? Because obviously most of the players, when you actually look at most of the players, they're pretty much all at internationals. They're like the senior players that would be probably starting 11. So is it almost a blessing in the sense that if they make the decision immediately, everyone's going to go like, really? Like, he's just lost his dad and you've made that decision? Like, really? Could we not be waiting, trying to finalize everything with the other manager potentially, or is it a case of nobody even knows what's going on? Like, Spurs don't know what's going on. We don't know if he's going to be here.
And we're being linked with, again, we're being linked with everyone. 1 minute, De Zerbi, he fancies it. Then he's not coming till the end of the season because he wants to see what his options are. And then there's is it Adolf Hutter, I think his name is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad you pronounced that.
I don't know how. And then there's Marco, and I'm like, again, we're dealing with all these. If these people want it on a full-time basis, and Spurs ain't going to offer that because we're waiting for the Pochettino in the summer, then we shouldn't even be considering these managers. But it should just be a case of, I mean, everyone that's been attached to Spurs in some way, Gus Poyet, Glenn Hoddle, Ryan Mason, Harry Redknapp, as much as people might turn around and say, I don't want them, I do want them, I'm not sure. These people are openly saying, look, we'll come in. We'll do the job for you. We know it's only going to be a 7-game basis. We know that's what it's going to be. And we'll gather a team. And maybe you do need people that are attached to Spurs that turn around and go, listen, we don't want to see this club go down. I know Redknapp's 80 years old nearly or whatever. But for me personally, it's a case of we need people that come in that don't turn there and go, oh, we're going to just get through these 7 games and it's a hit or miss. We don't really care because it's not going to affect us. Any manager that comes in now, it's not going to be like, oh, you got Tottenham relegated. It's not going to work like that. They're not going to ruin their reputation by coming to Spurs. If anything, if you get out of it, you end up going for the top jobs again because people can go, well, you've come in and done that and turned that around. That's really, really good. So I think
I'm not sure Redknapp will be going for top jobs, but I know what you mean.
No,
that's for sure.
Like if Ryan Mason was to come in as the manager and he had I know Chris Shootons and all that around him, and ends up getting Tottenham a couple of wins and a couple of draws, we end up staying up. People could turn around and go, well, actually, West Bromwich didn't do too great there, but they're not really doing too well now when he's left. Maybe he is
won
ready.
in like 10 games or something.
No, it's ridiculous. But for me, I feel like we need to have that where it's people that are attached to Tottenham who actually care about the club that's going to come in and say to the players, if you don't want this fight, then just go and train elsewhere. If you're not up for this, go and train away. And if they have to bring in some of the youngsters and people that want to actually do it, then bring them in.
Yeah, completely. I completely understand where you're coming from. Rain, big up, my man. Thank you very much for coming in. How you doing?
I'm not too bad. I'm actually a bit sick. So
no.
So
is that sick of Spurs or just sick?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah.
Have you been to the Spurs medical team yet, or is that scheduled in?
No. I don't. I only want to be out for a couple of days. I don't want to be out for about 2 years. So I think I'll steer clear of them. So I hope you can hear me okay. My voice is absolutely. But happy to come on and have a chat. It's really interesting about the sort of manager side of things. I've always been the type of fan, and I think it goes. I'm an old man, right? So it goes back. It goes back to the fact that I remember when Jerry Francis had 5 years or something, something daft, and in my and like my early roots as a football fan was watching a non-league side, and we had the same manager who took us up 2 times and we got relegated 3 times. Do you know what I mean? And that was perfectly normal. It wasn't the job was not if you had a bad run then you got sacked. It just wasn't that isn't the way that it worked. And everyone goes back to everyone still goes back to I'm getting noise through. I don't know if it's me.
Is that
yeah.
Chris? Is that Chris? You amateur, you absolute amateur. You've got noise playing in the background. Yeah, it's you, Chris. You've been doing this long enough, mate.
And I usually put earbuds on if I'm listening to something.
I think he's got earbuds in. I don't know what he's doing. Amateur, absolute amateur. You should work for Spurs, mate. Go on, Rain.
So that's my history. So I would have given Ange more time. I would have given Ange more time. I would have given Frank more time, to be brutally honest. And I'm still convinced that if we hadn't sacked Frank, actually we would have picked up a couple more points than the 1 point we've got under Tudor. Yeah. And we wouldn't be safe, but we'd be a lot safer than we are now. I think Binay, and heaven forgive me, Lange, who I think is absolutely useless. I think they did have a plan, and they just, I think they needed time more than anything. Time which they weren't getting. Time which you don't get in football. In football, Binay, I think, works at corporate. I've been saying this. I've been on. When you're on YouTube, you end up saying things again and again and again, right? Yeah, I wouldn't recognise it myself. It's good that somebody recognises it.
You tell me, Robbie. I have no idea, my man.
I was always saying, I think Binay is doing the right things. Like if you remember back to his comms, everything he said has been great, and I think he was trying to do the right things. He's been trying to do the right things, but he's been working at what I call corporate pace, which is they go and get that Rafa Mawson in from Man City, but he's got 6 months notice, so it takes that long to get him in. But football doesn't work at corporate pace. Football works at week by week. So if you're working at corporate pace, you're going to get done by football, because football will just steamroller over you, which is I think effectively what's happened. Just coming round on this on the manager, on the coach thing. What Chris was saying, I think it's clear that Tudor is already lining up this is why it didn't work at Spurs. I did everything I needed to, but there were all these problems that I identified that were there and underlying. He's been saying it in his pressers. So he's already, and fair play to him. Why wouldn't you? Right? He's already getting it. Like Chris says, he's already making sure that he's going to be all right. And any other coach like De Zerbi, I mean, don't get De Zerbi in. That's too much of a Hail Mary.
I agree.
I agree with anyone sensible. anyone who's not playing fantasy football is, anyone who's just going to be like, right, let's just do the low risk thing, is going to get in. Like, Redknapp Sherwood was when everyone was saying that Frank was going, I was like, just get Sherwood in. Get Sherwood and some of those other lads, put them round the training pitch. They'll have a good laugh, and they'll create an atmosphere. They'll create an environment that the players that this lot can work in.
And that's all we need right now, right? We just need something. Russ, big up, my man. Thank you very much for joining.
Hey,
how are we
Luke.
doing?
Good, mate. Good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Thanks for joining, mate. Do you want to come on and ask us questions? You just want to have a rant about Spurs, a good old therapy session for yourself? What was your plans on joining, my man?
Look, I was one of the idiots who thought we were going to win that last match against Forest. I don't know. I was as deluded as everybody else. I've lost all hope now because I think West Ham will beat Wolves. Our players will be under even more pressure knowing they're in 18th. And I don't think there's any coach that can dig us out. I think we're too far in.
Do you think it's more a personality thing as opposed to like a tactical thing? Because we don't need to change. It's not like someone's going to come in and do this revolution where they're going to bring in a new tactical approach or anything like that. Is it literally just trying to find something from somewhere, just from a personality aspect?
But quite possibly, like I think maybe a little bit of the fire, the Churchillian type. I'm not advocating Ange come back, but someone who can replicate that sort of thing amongst the players. And then also like that midfield, like how could you have Sarr and Gray up against Anderson and Sangara? Like you had to have Paulinho, you had to have Gallagher, you had to have Xavi in there. You have your best lot to start with, and then hopefully get a lead, and then it's just staggering. So hopefully someone who can just set them up right, have the best 11 on there you can, and then someone who can really inspire the players to be better than they've ever been,
Yeah. Rain, I'd see you was going to jump in there. Was you agreeing on that Paulinho aspect, that experience against their solid midfield?
Yeah, I mean, central midfield, I think, is where we've effectively been done the whole season, for me personally. We can talk about the fact we haven't got a left-hand side, and that's been a real problem. And if you think back to the Chelsea game, right, when so many people were saying this is the worst game that I've ever seen, and I'm like, really? I'm not sure it is, to be honest. we were basically done 1-0 by a mistake by Jed Spence. That's basically what we were done by, right? But in that game, we were getting nowhere because we were absolutely monstered by Enzo and Caicedo in central midfield. Yeah. And we just couldn't match up to them. And if you don't control that if you don't control the centre, then you're ruined. If you don't control the centre, you need someone of the quality of like a Salah or a Messi out as an inside forward who you could so you can just go round the centre. Like Klopp famously just had a donut. He just went, well, I'm just going to put Henderson in the middle, and we're just going to go around the outside here. And
we've got a few donuts. It's not a formation, but we've got a few donuts.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got Trent down one side, I've got Robertson down the other side, and we're just gonna absolutely bulldoze down the wings. And so it doesn't matter how strong your central midfield is, but we don't have that, and we're getting absolutely destroyed in central midfield. And make Russ right, it was absolutely bonkers to go up against. To go up against their midfielders, and I was on, I'm on with Sav quite a lot, and we had Wolfie on, and he went, Anderson didn't have a very good game, and we were all like, yeah, all right, and he was like, no, honestly, he didn't. But the difference is, Anderson probably didn't have his best game, but you can see. He's so elite that he knew exactly what he could get away with Oliver. He had Oliver. He was in Oliver's head. Yeah. So he could make those tactical fouls that are absolutely vital, and he could stick his foot in, and he can make sure that he still had a massive impact on the game, and that comes from being a top player.
Yeah,
And
100%.
unfortunately, Sarr isn't it, and Archie Gray's got a couple of years of development before he's there, I think.
Chris, in terms of our best centre midfield, like obviously, I feel like every time we've come up against a very good centre midfielder, they've dominated. Caicedo was a perfect example. Anderson done it. There was the stat in the earlier on in the season where our whole midfield put together couldn't match the key passes to, I think it was Xhaka, Henderson, that sort of thing. But I think there was a period, probably 3 or 4 games, when we had Bentancur, Palhinha, and we knew that they was the midfield, and that was our best midfield at that moment. But ever since that point, we've the midfield has changed out consistently, right? Do you reckon that's one of the reasons why we've been lacking so much, Chris?
Yeah, I think when you watch Bentancur play, I mean, the player he was before his injury, he was a different player. I mean, you can still see signs of that, but I think Bentancur gives us a bit of stability in midfield. He can actually, he calms it down. He can control the ball. His passing's not always been great. And again, since his injury, I feel like he's massively had a bit of a decline. But for me, Bentancur and Palhinha's come in to do a job, and he was signed to be that number 6 that we all said at the start of the season that we desperately need in there to sort of break up the play, win the ball back, and then give it to the guys to go and play football and pass it on. He's not been used as that because I think we've lacked centre midfielders, and even when Xavi Simons come in as well, it took him a bit of time. But having players like that around him that he can give the ball to and go, right, go on, off you go and play. Again, Kudus on the right-hand side, win the ball back, give it to your right back, to give it to Kudus, and then it lets the creative players go and create. We've not always had that because injuries and everything else creeps in. So, yes, midfield's definitely been a struggle. I feel like Archie Gray, he deserves a lot of credit because he does seem like technically he probably has. There's still a lot to develop as a player there. But for me, he's been really, really good because he's had to actually fight. And for his age, and from where obviously he come from Leeds and come to us, so he's not had that experience. For me, he's been top draw. And I think he's a real player in that squad that even if we do go down, he'll be a big part in that team next season that will be pushing us forward to get us back in. It's just figuring out a partner with him, like whether it's a João Palhinha, or whether it's a Bentancur, or whether it's someone else to come in to take some tasks away from him, so it allows him to do what his role is to do in that team, in that midfield.
Centre midfield is key. So key in partnership wise, right? So key. Russ, you seem to be pretty deflated, probably like most of us, to be honest with you. What do you think needs to happen for it to actually turn around then? Do you think that it just needs to be a bit of confidence? Is partly due to the fans? Is it what do you think needs to change for us to kind of starve off this relegation potential battle?
I think the fans have done their bit. I think the fans have gone over and above and have been ripped off by ENIC. And it was so good to see those people in the Western stand around the director's box just giving it to them. That was really good. But turning it around, I don't know if it's in Romero's wheelhouse as a captain to bring everyone together like that. I always had reservations about him being captain. I mean, it's not racist, but like the language barrier and his communication skills, and I just don't see it on the field. I don't know. He just doesn't do it for me as a captain, but I guess it's too late in the game to be changing that. But I think it's got to come from the players. They'll change managers and whatever, but it's really got to come from the senior players. Have got to get them all together, and they've got to demand the effort and the commitment and I think it was the last game of the game. It was the Atletico game, and I don't know if Atletico didn't have their foot to the floor the whole game, but I noticed our midfield in that game more than any other, we were getting first to second balls, and that for me is a real difference. Like so many games, we're never first to the second balls in midfield, just pathetic. But in that game we did, and there seemed to be a bit more aggressive from the front. And I think it's got to come from the senior group of players to really pull this together. I think they're the only ones who can do it. I think you can bring in Jesus Christ to coach his team. I don't think it's going to make a difference. It's got to come from the players. It's got to come from within. They've got to have the desire. I don't think they can be told. They've got to want it. No one's got to make them want it. They're going to have to want it, and they're going to have to want it as a collective to make it happen. So that's, for me, I think it's the players.
But the thing is, Luke, and like going back to Romero, Romero is just an absolute case study for this team. In so many ways, he's such a good player. But then you look at that second goal that we conceded, and I know, Luke, you've probably seen it. There's like a little picture that was shared around on X and has made its way around the WhatsApp groups, where for that second goal, for the second goal, Morgan Gibbs-White picked up the ball to the left and outside of our penalty area, and passed it to somebody on the left-hand side of our penalty area, and then Morgan Gibbs-White just made a diagonal run, completely uncontested, straight to the penalty spot. And there were plenty of Spurs players in and around the penalty area, and watching, and Romero was one of them. And whoever it was, I think it was probably Hudson-Odoi, then just passed it back, just nice and calm, to Morgan Gibbs-White on the penalty spot. You just side-footed it into the goal past Vicario, and Romero turned around, looked at Tell, who was not that far away from Morgan Gibbs-White, and went, "What are you doing?" Well, wait a minute, mate. Wait a minute. It's fine to have a go at Tell after the event, but do you know what? A Ledley King, a John Terry, a Tony Adams, a Rio Ferdinand, those types of centre backs are actually looking at where are the threats whilst the game is actually being played, and trying to snuff them out, not going after the event. Oh, wait a minute, there was a problem there. So he's such a good player, but there's a significant thing that's missing, that is why we just concede so many goals. So many goals have been conceded from players arriving into the D of our penalty area uncontested, and we need leaders, like we need the captain and other leaders to be going, there are threats, let's actually snuff them out, and that's the only way that happens.
If you watch that second goal, perhaps Sarr is the one that stands up Morgan Gibbs-White when he plays it out, and then Sarr follows Morgan Gibbs-White into the box, and rather than check over his shoulder and check over, when the ball, I think as you say, it was Hudson-Odoi, when he's going to cut it back, he actually steps in and marks the striker. He doesn't look over his left shoulder and go, "Who's behind me?" And I feel like with our team at the minute, the basics of football that you get taught at when you're 7, 8 years old, when you're playing football, when you're just running around trying to score goals, the basics of it's just out the window. We're not trying to even talk to each other. And as you say, there should be someone behind him. There's players behind him. There's players in front of him. There's players to the right of him that should be saying, "Who's got him? Who's marking there?" And it should be done while Hudson-Odoi is figuring out if he's going to pass it to Gibbs-White, if he's going to cross it, or whatever he's doing. All these things need to be done prior to there being a chance. But it seems like it's the individual mistakes, but as well as the very basic fundamentals of football. It's just out the window at Spurs.
And it's bizarre, Chris, because I remember like about 4 months ago, turning round to my mate who sits next to me in the north stand, and we'd been crushed again. Right, I can't remember which game it was. And I was going
to say, what game? Any game?
Yeah, I can't remember, mate. It was one of them. And I said to him, I just don't get it. It's they're not tracking. They're not helping their mates out. If I played like this in the park when I was 9 years old, when I used to go to the park on my bike, right, in the 80s, right? I used to go to the park on my bike, and there would be 2 games of football on. and we would find one, we'd join in. And if I didn't do the right thing, people would be fucking yelling at me, right? I would get, if you didn't track, if you didn't make a little run so that somebody could pass to you, if you didn't actually put that in, then you get yelled at. I said, so why are they not doing what I learned in a park, age 9 or 10? And he turned around to me and he went, Rain, they've never played in a park. Most of these lads have only ever played in an academy. They've just been taught how to play as an academy player. They've never been in that boiler room that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's possible. Adrian, big up, my man. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure meeting you on Sunday. Obviously,
we get you on our show
concourse.
probably in 3 Fridays' time because you're busy for the next, aren't you?
Yes, mate, 100%. I'm walking through the concourse and all I can hear is Luke. And I'm thinking, I wonder if that's me. Look over and the legendary Adrian stood over there. Thank you very much for joining, my man. How you doing?
I'm fine. I've only just caught a gist of what you've been talking about. I mean, I'm old school when it comes to captains. Captains can't do what they did back in the old days, you know, putting a lunging tackle and send a player into the stand just to set the tone if another team's trying it on, right? And my old school attitude is, look, seriously, if you can't motivate yourself to get on the pitch to play for my football club, then get the fuck out of the club. You shouldn't need a captain to tell you, right? That shouldn't happen. That's what pisses me off. And I actually think we've all been clutching at straws and we're all like lancing balls, but we're not offering any solutions. I mean, where I zero in, which is going to bring up on tonight's show actually, is not so much even the board. I mean, we can criticise them and the DOF and Vinay Venkatesham for bringing in managers and directors of football and things like that. But I still think the crutch lies with the manager at the time and the coaching team. The ones we brought in haven't been the right fit for us, and they're wrong. If you look at the players, right, every one of our players is an international player. You're not a bad player if you get to an international level for your football club, right? You're not, right? So then, okay, now we know the squad's unbalanced. So that is and we know we've had a lot of injuries. So they're variables you can take in consideration, you know. But so I don't care. The coaches at our club and the manager should be able to get a better tune out. These are international footballers. They should be able to get a better tune out of them. So to me, the coaches and that come in, this is the problem when we bring a coach that's not Spurs DNA, or we bring coaches and managers that don't play to the players' strengths. That's not happening. It's not happening. We've even seen that under Tudor, you know. You end up playing Sousa on the right. He did all right, okay on the right at Liverpool. Right? We get a result, everyone's happy. But that's not going to work long time. You know it's not going to work long time. Square pegs in round holes all the time. Porro playing right midfield. You know, what the hell's that all about? And the glaring thing is from January onward, which really pissed me on, which is what I was eating out before I was leaving out, although like I didn't voice it that much. I let people make their own minds up. But you know, you got a situation in January where we know we needed a left winger and we didn't bring one in because the club fought, or Vinay and Langer fought in the infinite vision. We'll wait for players to come back for industry. What a dangerous game to play. And that may come back and really bite this football club, right? And I was screaming at the time, I wanted to bring in like Mains Zakliouche because I thought it could solve a few positions for us. I wanted to get a winger in. Oh, no, we won't get one and we won't get in. Look, you bloke the squad in January and worry about getting rid of the excess in the summer, right? Once you know you're safe, right? So I wasn't with that. I've also seen in recent games, you know, Tell and Gray have been the only bright lights in the squad. Tell's been trying to do it all on his own. We've got no width on the left and the right as such, true width, right? But we know we could improve that temporarily. We know Richarlison can play on the wing. We know Tell can play on the wing as a job that isn't done, and you'd play Solanke through the middle. It just seems common sense to me. And then you leave Xavier, who is a work in progress, but he looks a fantastic talent. Let's hope he keeps developing the way he is. You leave him out after a good game against Madrid, when after this game, you know, you got a 19-day break. I don't get it. I mean, I just don't get it. The maths don't have it. I'm not a coach.
I'm not a coach. I mean,
Yeah.
I've just been watching football for decades. But it's things
Exactly.
that exasperate me. And in defence, as you alluded to earlier, Rain, right? I mean, how many goals have we seen when a ball's been cut back into our penalty area and a player's been left in loads of space and banged it in the net? I mean,
exactly.
not knocking Danso, but he was doing nothing in that box for that goal as well as Sarr, right? People moaned about Romero coming. Look, you can't hang everything on Romero, right? Because there were enough people in that penalty area to sort that problem out. Then if he's at fault with an error, I mean, I'm a fan, but if it's fault, I'll critique him. But like, you know, centre backs do go up. I mean, we had both them up against both him and were up forward when we conceded a goal before, weren't they? They were coming back 12 seconds away to who was that in Europe we played? Atletico Madrid. They were both up for a corner, weren't they?
Yeah.
And they broke, and straight away, 12 seconds later, Madrid have scored. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Shit happens. I'm not going to say don't go up for set pieces. You want your big man up there, right? And another thing we don't do, which I find increased. I remember when Unai Emery came to Spurs at the game, another game like the suffer. Right. I remember when he came, what does he do? He leaves 3 men on the halfway line. At least he's got an out ball. When we clear a corner and Vicario's got the ball, he's like a hair in the headlights. He don't know what to do with it. And I can't blame him really because there's no one to give it to. You've got to have an out ball. I just don't get this. It's ultra defensive coaching, you know.
So actually,
even under Ange, he'd have the two wingers wide, and we'd think, oh, what's he keeping them out there for? Some fans would worry about it. Anyway, back to you, guys. I'm feeling better.
Adrian, the first manager who did that, leave 3 players up, was Maresca, worked for Chelsea. Because if you remember, at that time when Chelsea came to us, we were keeping it tight, and we were you know, everyone was complaining that we were only scoring set piece goals, and so Maresca just leaves 3 players up, and what it does is they put 3 up, so we have to keep 4 back, and all of a sudden the penalty area is clear. You know, you take 4 or 5 players out of that penalty area, and Sanchez can just come and collect the ball. And everyone was saying, you know, Sanchez just dominated his box. That's because Maresca was smart and went, we're just going to clear that penalty area, and we're going to put players up. And I've never understood coaches who think that they have to bring all of their players back to defend a corner. It's absolutely mad to me. You leave 2 or 3 players up because then the other team has to take some of their players back, and sometimes those players are defenders who they want in the penalty area for a corner. On Tudor, the really bonkers thing with that transition between Atletico Madrid and how we looked against Atletico Madrid at home, and then the Forest game, was that Tudor learned nothing. Tudor learned nothing about our squad and about our team from the Atletico Madrid game. We, like you said, we've got very little width. We've only got Tell, who can really play wide at the moment. And against Atletico Madrid, so he puts Porro out wide, right? So against Atletico Madrid, he just didn't bother. Just played Xavi and Tell as 10s. And you know what? It kind of worked. But then, and played 4 at the back. And you know what? It kind of worked. And then we go to Forest, and he wants, it's this idea, these ideologues, Adrian, who can't adapt to the circumstances and the players that they've got. I'm sure Tudor would be a great manager if we brought him in, or be a good manager if we brought him in the summer, and he had, you know, three or 4 weeks to work on a team and get some players in to fit a system. But you know what? When you've got the players you've got, you have to actually adapt. You have to. There's no if, buts, or maybes. So to go to 2 in midfield up against the 3 that, you know, Forest put up against us, to play Spence and Porro on the right when they've never played there before. You know, it just the mind boggles why these people think that this kind of thing's going to work.
And they're reactive, not proactive. I mean, the 4-4-2 worked. I liked it. Okay, keep with it. But fine. But when you come up against a team and it doesn't work, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I mean, Tell's not. He's an inside forward come number 9, really. I mean, he showed it at Leeds away and things like that. The kid's a talent, but he's not there yet, is he? But he could do have a bit of luck in front of goal. He scored against Man United at home, didn't he? A nice goal, and scored at Leeds. But we know what can do. I mean, we know what we've seen that has worked or can work. You know, in part, it's not a solution to our problems. We know that Tell can play out wide, but we also know that Richie can be a handful out wide as well. He did it for Everton. He's done it for Watford. You could put him out there. There's no one else to put out there. There's no one else. Instead, you experiment. And not only do you put square pegs in round holes, you experiment around the rest of the park as well. You know, it's just, to me, it's just total madness. It's total madness.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I know everyone out there, fans, all slag the squad off. That's not a bad squad of players. They're all internationals. They're just not being utilised right, and they're not getting a tune out of them. I mean, Kudus will make a big difference because he gives you an outball as one holds it up. He holds up as well as Kulu does. You know, they holds it up. So he'll make a big difference when he comes back. Will it be too little, too late? Who knows? Because confidence is the key. You can have a team of world-beaters, but if the confidence is gone, then you're screwed. But the team has shown fight, even though they're playing on fragile confidence, you know. But, but I don't know. I haven't got a clue we're going to bring in. I mean, if it was a manager, I'd want Poch. He's the only one I want. I don't know enough about these other managers. You know, I just hear rumours about, oh, he's no good, he's no good. Some people like this, some don't. I mean, I don't watch other managers playing styles. Why would I? You know, until they play us. You know, but
all of that doesn't really matter. It doesn't make a difference about a playing style right now. You're not going to come in to create one, are you? Literally, we just need someone who can. Listen, a lot of people were moaning about the style that we had at the start of the season. If someone said, right, you're going to play the worst football you've ever seen, and you're going to nick 2 wins in the next 3, everyone's going to go, absolutely, I take it, whatever I can take at this moment in time. So we're not even trying to introduce any style. It's literally what you said, Adrian. we need to get a manager that's just going to look at what's there and try and get the best out of it.
A mad thought, right? Spurs fans would take us finishing third from bottom if Man City got deducted 60 points and got relegated. I mean, that's how bad it's getting. And
imagine a world where that happens.
Us to have a look at teams below us to see how well they're doing.
Whoa. We don't want Man City to get any points taken away from them. They're the only team. They're the only team who's stopping that other lot from potentially stopping that other lot from winning. I mean, I had a bit of a semi-row with somebody on X about Frank's start to this season. Because, you know, if you look at the first 11 games, we've got like 18 points out of 33. And a lot of that was off the back of that double pivot, and this person was like, that's still shit, and I was like, but we take it now. Do you know what I mean? That is why we're not in the bottom 3. The pragmatism that we had there, that we didn't have the quality that we needed to play expansive, attacking, free flowing football. Is why we managed to eke out points. And do you know what we could do with a little bit more of that right now? Because I
don't go on. So I don't think that's fair. Like I was not a fan of the football whatsoever, and I actually remember, because it was 18 points. I remember coming on plenty of streams going, if we play like that again for the next 11 games or whatever it is, we won't get anywhere near 18 points. But that doesn't matter. We got them. And we absolutely need as many points as we possibly can now. So I know that there's some, like I've said before, I want a manager that's going to come in and implement a style and play like this and do this. Right now, I don't care. And I don't think any Spurs fan cares. We just need to pick up points. Right?
You just need someone to come in to literally, who, as you all said, are going to steady the ship, get the players playing to their best and get points, because that's all we need at the minute. I mean, you look at our fixtures and there's potentially 3 or 4 games where, I think Villa and Chelsea, we're probably not going to get anything there. 3 or 4 games where we could potentially get some points.
Bring up James's quote, mate. I would sell everyone, to be honest.
What one? This one?
No,
this one?
Yeah.
He says a lot of nonsense. What that right? That
James. Right. I just want to know if we're keeping the corner flags and the goalposts, mate.
To be fair, they ain't the best.
We're selling them as well.
I'd sell some of our fans as well. I'd tell you that much if we could get a few quid for a few of our fans, particularly ones that back Vicario, Mr. Flower. But anyway, that's a question for another day. Well, actually, saying that, Vicario. So I don't know if you've seen it, but all over X, you've got the goalkeeping coach coming out making almost a statement, if you like, on X. So I think it was Instagram, saying that Vicario's been. I'll say, yeah, saying that basically Vicario has had this injury for months. And does that, why are we playing a keeper that has obviously, now you look at the mistakes he's making, the injuries.
Get it all sorted out months ago then. Don't wait until 7 games left to get him a surgery. I've never had a hernia, but I imagine it will affect you massively. And I know people that have had hernias that can't walk properly. So he's obviously just been pumped with stuff to just get him through it. But just get it done. Get it done and get it sorted. And again, who's been going through this rigmarole of who's been advising him on what to do? Because if it was me, I'd be like, look, get it done. If it's not a long process to recover, just get it done and let's get on with it.
Then
is it too easy? Is it too easy to go back to that decision to bring in Kinski? No. Because it used to be the case that we bring in a Brad Frieda or a Vorm to be backup keeper. Someone who's absolutely an older hand who's solid. We
had Fraser Forster for years.
Fraser Forster, right? We bought an older hand who has got the experience. You get a trade-off, right? You get a trade-off. With youth, you get exuberance, but you get mistakes because they're learning from it. And with experience, with the older hands, you get less energy, but you get more stability. And that's why for a goalkeeper, for your backup goalkeeper, you want someone who's been there, done it. You want someone who's only got a couple of years left in him, and just wants to, just wants to see how his playing days. Because when you need him, he's going to be there and he's going to step up.
Yeah,
because he knows what to do. He's not making mistakes. He's already learned from them. Okay, you don't want Fraser Forster not able to, get down for a penalty. Not that level, but you still want. And we went and got Kinski, and is this? And I'll come back to what Adrian said about the January transfer window, and Lange revealing himself after in that interview. I'm so angry about it, that interview afterwards, because I think he genuinely thought that interview was, saying lots of good things, but everything he was saying is exposed how inadequate he is for the job of what he's doing. The fact that they decided that they don't want to get players into the squad so that we've got more players than is available in the squad list. No. You do what Adrian does. Do what Adrian said. You get those players and you sort it out in the summer.
Yeah,
but also this youth. He said it. We obviously need to get a youth set. We need to get youth in like every other club. I don't see Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal. I don't see them going out and getting 18-year-olds to play in their first team.
They are. No. All clubs are busy getting the best youngsters in that.
They're not to play in their first team, Adrian.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Play in their first team squad, that's the difference. If they do get them, like Chelsea, they chuck them out on loan. Right,
yeah, for 2 or 3 years as well to get them. That, as you say, that to have.
Well, they got Nawani and the fullback in at Arsenal from the youth team.
From the youth.
Yeah, but they've got a
team.
settled. They've got a settled squad. They've got a settled squad, a youth, an experienced squad, and then sprinkled a little bit of youth on the top, right?
Yeah,
you don't get
they've not
young
got 8
players
or
and
9
then try to
youngsters
get-
who have then
and that's what we
mean,
tried.
In terms of goalkeepers, I would have played Austin.
I would go for James Trafford. He's not going to get game time at Man City. Why, mate? Is there?
I think as our next permanent keeper,
I just think he would be a good option. I think he'd be and I would trust him at his age as well. He looked good in the other leagues, like
So actually, mentioning keepers, right? Really good example. I know that they lost at the weekend, but Arsenal went and got Kepa as their backup goalkeeper. Now, maybe he's not the best, but they're going and getting the keeper who's got experience. They're doing the right thing. They get the right profile of keeper. And now, let's face it, we're going to be playing Kinski. If actually, I'd be brutally honest. I personally, from what I've physically seen, the few games that he had, the couple of games I've seen Kinski play, I'd be playing Austin. And
Austin, when he played his first game for us last season, when he started, he won man of the match. And then 3 days later, we signed Kinski and he started the next game. And I was like, you've got a boy there that's come through the Spurs youth team, that's played his first professional game for Spurs, got man of the match as a goalkeeper, and then 4 days later you're playing a guy you've just signed. To me, it made no sense.
He also let one through his hands, as Kinski did away to Villa in the Cup.
Yeah, he did.
Right?
He did, yeah.
And the telling thing about the excuse made for Vicario is the fact that, like, if Kinski was doing it in training, he would have got into the team with Vicario being injured. So he obviously hasn't been doing it in training. Austin was under 21 England goalkeeper for quite a while. He's 27 now, 28 or whatever. He's probably happy to be a homegrown player at the squad to help us in Europe. Not that that's going to be a problem for a few seasons now, though.
I was just going to come back to that. Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Well, we've only got Austin unless you want to promote Gunter or Maguire out the under 21s. You're not going to go there.
It's mad, right? I mean, Austin, as you said, Austin's 26, 27, but I believe he's only played about 50 top flight football games because he's been obviously young goalkeepers. Obviously, it's difficult to get starting games. So he went and played a few in the MLS. I think he may have even done a stint in Sweden. I think that seems to be where we send our goalkeepers as well. But outside of that, he's not played many starting 11 games. So the amount of pressure that we've put on these goalkeepers is absolutely mad. But Kinski was signed during the time where we had 6 weeks, 7-8 weeks, I think it was, where we had no centre halves. Obviously, Vicario had a bit of an injury, which I think is why he was brought in. But everybody knew straight away Kinski needed a loan. He needed a loan move. Yeah. And again, this comes back to some sort of plan. What you do is you get Kinski out on loan, you bring in an experienced goalkeeper, give Kinski a year, maybe even 2 years out on loan, and then you can bring him in and maybe he competes, maybe he's the second choice, whatever, but he's got that experience.
His father was an international goalkeeper. I mean, I think there's a player in Kinski, but it's just his confidence must be shot at the moment.
Absolutely. But he's going to have to go away and rebuild, and he's basically going to have to do, and I think, Rain, I think you mentioned it with regards to Archie Gray, he's going to have to do what he should have done a year and a half ago, and that is go out on loan and rebuild his career. Fair enough, he wouldn't have been rebuilding his career. He would have been building his career initially, but now he needs to go away and rebuild it. And this is what we seem to do. And I think part of it, when you just mentioned it, is this whole European thing. Gray, Bergvall, I think they've been part of the squad. They've been brought in and know that when we get to a certain, they're going to be club trained players. And we've been so focused on that we've actually taken our eye off the ball and gone, and we've all said it here, Tell and Gray have probably been part of, Gray specifically, been the shining light. That's an indictment of the club that you're in at this moment in time, that we're saying that, because Gray should be someone who's developing. He shouldn't be someone that we're saying, well, he needs to play.
And they've both been making mistakes as well. Like Tell and Gray are obviously different players. Tell's more of an attacking. But for me, with Tell, he's got so much, you can tell he tries and the energy's there and he wants to, but the quality is just not there. So we've got a player here who's 19, 20 years old, who's trying in a squad that's already not playing that great, but the quality's not there. So all you're doing is making a player that's that young look worse in a bad team because they're not all performing. And again, Archie Gray, he's been one of our standout players just because he's played right back, centre back, left wing back, right wing back, centre mid. He's played everywhere, and he doesn't.
77 games for us, I think. That's without the games at Leeds.
And he puts in a shift. He doesn't. He just gets on with it, and he's not. For me, he's a centre midfielder. You have to play him in centre midfield, but again, he's made mistakes during games, and he has done things, but he's had to just play on. He's had to just get on with it, and the youngsters have actually proven, the senior players, where the youngsters are going, I'll just keep going, I'll just keep working, whereas the senior ones are the ones that seem to just be like sort of chucking in the towel for me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Bergvall was the fans' favourite last year because he had a very strong finish. And that fans forget the early stuff that Gray did, because when a player's on song, they tend to recognise him more. And this year, Graves recently, he's shown that class player was said he would be.
Yeah.
And like, so them two are going to be a future. They're not going to go anywhere, right? And they would have only been drip fed in the squad, as you alluded to, Chris. If we'd had a fit squad of players, they would have had half. So that's the only positive we can take out of this. It won't be much of a positive if we're relegated, but I mean. And the fact that Odebert and Tell for the French under-21s have been absolutely brilliant. There's only two ways you can describe them if you ever watched them. And I think there's a player in either of them actually, but they're not there yet. And that means, well, why are we waiting? And then it's like the transfer window. It's always the next transfer window, and the transfer window after that, right? And we're tired as fans of that. I'm tired of it. You know, this is why I probably won't renew my season ticket. Get the Spurs play so that I can pick the games I can go to, and get the One Hotspur Plus and pick games I go to. Because I'm at a stage now, I'm sick of waiting. It was great to win that trophy last year. You wouldn't think we'd won one where we are now, would you? We should be carrying a warm glow through this season, right? It's not the case. It's just been more heartache from a crap board who haven't got a clue what they're doing. Right, and Vinny and Langer haven't done anything to inspire us either. Langer seemed to survive the Levy cut, so maybe he's earmarked for. I think he's earmarked for a different job. To be honest with you, I think
if we go down, none of them should survive.
No, they
shouldn't survive anyway.
Yeah, but hang on,
they should survive anyway.
Board have sat on this since 2000. I mean, Poch wasn't backed in 518 days in a transfer window, right?
Yeah,
we got players in. I mean, and Ndombele came when it was too late. The team was getting leggy and run its course. And Lo Celso wasn't a Poch signing. He was only signed fully under Mourinho, right? So, and we've had to put up with Nkudu, Janssen, NG, Roden, right? Who's done all right at Leeds, let's be fair. But, you know, we've shopped in Poundland when other clubs shop in Harrods, right? And that's the thing. If we'd have put half the players in and spent twice the amount of money, we'd have been better off.
Yeah, it's always the shopping for where if we buy him in 3 years' time, he could be better. Yeah, that's well and good buying that player, but we need players that are good now, not players that are going to be good in 3 years. Because
and when we get involved in a transfer fiasco like Eze or Morgan Gibbs-White, I mean, we're a joke. We're an absolute joke.
In November, they announced that there's this £100 million injection, and everyone's thinking, right, we're going to have a good January here. We sell one player for 35, buy one in for 35, and then you're like, well, technically we've not replaced position for position and like for like. You've not spent technically any money on anyone. So where's this £100 million sitting?
And yet we already had 70 million before that was mentioned to go and get Savinho.
Yeah. But there was no one available apparently. I'm like, well, you've got the money there. People will become available when you've got money.
And the cynics in us, me as a Spurs fan, thinks, you crafty bastards, you've promised that money. Now you've let it go into another tax year after April this year, when you can feed on more money that's due in the future, whether we're relegated or not, and sort of disguise what you were going to spend prior to that. It should be that 100 million, that 70 million, 170 million plus that we should have in the summer. It won't be.
But what made me laugh about that Langer interview, forgive me, there might be people that have brought it up, but for me, he essentially sat there and told the world he's not very good at his job. and he's absolutely got away with it. Like, he's literally sat there and said, I couldn't find anyone that improves this team. And everyone's like, I can find 11 players because they all play against us every week. There's 11 out there that probably improve us every single different week that we go out and play against someone else. And he's literally said, I couldn't find anyone that improved us. And I just don't understand.
They were like, we couldn't get Semenyo. We wanted Semenyo, we couldn't get him. Well, why did you want Semenyo? You wanted Semenyo because you saw him play against Liverpool in that first, in the first couple of games of the season, and everyone went, oh, Semenyo's really, really good. Well, do you know what? There's some of us who've seen him play against Spurs for the last couple of seasons, and we're like, this guy's quite good. Do you know what I mean? It's you know, I remember seeing Caicedo for the first time, and I turned round to Robin, who used to sit next to me. Adrian, two guys sitting next to me, both in their 70s, deciding not to renew this season, right? And I see more and more of it around me. Do you know what I mean? And I went, can I borrow your program, mate? Because I need to know who this is. Because you can see he's a player, right? So how did they not know that Semenyo was a player who we should go all out and actually get? A left winger, no less, right? In the summer, but they then did in January when it was bloody obvious. Well, that's the answer, isn't it? It's because by January it's bloody obvious, but yeah, he's already on his way to get him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but the only part, I agree.
He's rubbish at his job, basically.
I agree with what you're saying. The only part I am going to come back on is that he looked very good against Spurs. I promise you now, if I got a game against us, I reckon I'd look all right. And that's just saying the standard that we're at this moment.
People were talking about Semenyo or Savio, and I was like, I've seen Savio in the Premier League, and he looks okay, but I've seen Semenyo play in the Premier League, and he looks an absolute beast. Do you know? And I was saying that one of the disadvantages of being on YouTube is that people hear what you've said and they hold you against it. One of the advantages of being on YouTube is that people hear what you've said and you can go, I said that. And I said that in the summer. I was like, forget Savio. We need to be getting Semenyo. He's the right profile. Been in the Premier League consistently for a number of years. He's the right age. He's fought his way up. He's got the right character. He used to play down the league. He's fought his way up the ladder. He's a guy who's got personality, and he's an absolute beast. I've seen him play against us, and he destroyed us. And people were like, "Oh no, Savio's, Savio this, Savio that," which may be, may all fine and well, but we didn't get either of them. And then everyone's like, "Oh, Semenyo is quite good." All right, well, yeah.
Semenyo's actually the perfect Ange player, because Ange loves a player that's built his career from really low and kind of goes on, obviously physicality wise, pace, he gets around the pitch very well, that sort of thing. So he's almost the perfect Ange player. But when we was actually speaking about signings the other day, I said, obviously, when you look at how poorly we've recruited manager-wise, right, and forget about what you think of these managers and whether you think they're good or you don't, right? You had Ange Postecoglou, who turned Brennan Johnson into his best goal scorer in the team. Johnson is probably our best finisher. Could argue about everything else in the game, but he was pivotal to that system and he was a top scorer. A new boss comes in. Within 6 months, that top goal scorer is sold, right? Frank obviously came in and brought in Xavi with it, and then brought in Gallagher. And the new boss, within 2 or 3 weeks, doesn't play either of those players. So the top players or the top signings for the last manager are not even deemed necessary to be a starting player for the next manager. And
we are a basket case. We're a basket case of a club, Luke.
The structure of the club is totally wrong. Not so much. I mean, it's improved at academy level once Dean Rastrick went. That was down to Paratici, actually, because now we decided to play the young kids, pay them wages, not say, oh, it's too much money for them. And we've developed, in the last few years, we've developed academies really rocking, and it's really doing well. Although a lot of the top ones are out on loan now. About 8 of the successful under-21s are out on loan. But my point is, I remember when I went to Chelsea, he tried to get the Chelsea teams playing the same way from the youth level through to the first team, right? So if you can, I mean, you're restricted by the type of players you've got, right? So if you've got a style of playing, and Spurs have had a historic DNA of playing the Spurs way, a fast, attractive style of football, right? Then you don't bring in a coach like Conte and Mourinho. That's not your DNA. You don't bring them in. I mean, you step backwards. We went forward and we progressed under Poch. You took us to a different level. Instead of like being delighted if we got an Europa League, we got regular Champions League football. Never heard of before. Done well. Wasn't backed. People don't rate me. Didn't win nothing. Well, he wasn't backed, was he? Look what he did with what he had. You know, that's what you should look at, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then since Poch, it's been a car crash. Been a total car crash. You know, because like the managers we brought in didn't know nothing about Nuno Espirito Santo. He'd probably keep a job in football. You know, he's at West Ham now, at the Forest and Wolves and whatever. But you knew, everyone, listen, you knew how it was going to end under Conte and Mourinho. They're egocentric managers. It was always going to end badly. They always think they're bigger than a football club they're with. Big mistake, you know. So,
yeah, but you just on that point. Go on. No, go on. You're fine.
No, I was just going to say, but on that point, Adrian, if you decide that that's so obviously what it looks like from the outset is that we decided that route, Pochettino wasn't working, the building wasn't working. Let's go for the win, get someone in that can just do the job right now. But then you don't back them. You almost, it's pointless even doing that transition. Do you know what I mean? You just
and to go on with what you said, you know, if you don't bring a manager in, like if your board or DOF or CEO has got a clue about football and know that when he comes in, he wants to play a different style, break up the squad and change 5 or 6 players. I mean, it's madness. It's just madness. You bring a manager in at least that will suit the players you've got, right? And you should know whether he does. If you're the CEO or you're the, you should know. You shouldn't have to go and ask anyone because that's your job. You should know that, okay, you've got these 6 managers. Yeah, say it was Nagelsmann. Well, I wouldn't mind actually. If it was Nagelsmann, Sansa and all that, and someone said, oh, yeah, fine. Or Tuchel, yeah, well, yeah, fine, yeah. Great managers, but look, we can't put them on the list because they don't really, they're not a right fit for us. And no matter how good they are, you don't go for them. Don't go for them. I mean, what is this attraction? Because we've got a shiny stadium, we've got to have a game show host manager at the front, you know, front in the brand. All fans want to see is good football. If we win something, that's the bonus. But I don't want to go there and watch that shit I've had to watch for 2 seasons. You know, season and a half. I mean, even under Ange, it was hit and miss.
Just while you're on that point, Adrian, obviously there's been a lot of talk about Tudor going, Tudor staying, replacements. What do you both feel like the next couple of weeks holds for Tottenham before our next game away to Sunderland?
This has echoes of Conte. He had a bereavement as well when he was at the football club, didn't he, if you remember? So, I mean, I think they're waiting until Monday. They want to be respectful, which is fair enough for the club, but they've had loads of conversations now. That Baldwin will be panicking like hell, right? He's going, right? I'd be very surprised if he's here after Monday. Father was buried today, was he? Was it today or something? Or if it's tomorrow, whatever it is.
Yeah, today I think it was.
Respect, word to him, like, the usual PR statement on the club website. Right, thank you for your service, and we're sorry about what happened to you. Commiserations. They'd probably sent flowers as well, which you should do, and all that, right? And all that. Yeah. And then he's got to get out of the jail card. If you want to be cynical, Tudor's got to get out of jail card, and so have the club in a way. But then they're on the last chance saloon, and you know it's got. Listen, if this club gets relegated, I've experienced us being relegated. If this club's get relegated, Charlie and Viv are going to have to stream Spurs because it's not going to be a happy atmosphere at the stadium with them on view to the fan base. They're going to get if you think it's going to get toxic, they'll get such abuse, they won't be able to come to the ground.
They sent a note saying we'll send them next time. A bit like the transfer window. We'll do it next window. We'll leave it at this one. So
I think Tudor has come out and obviously said that he didn't expect it to be quite as bad as it has been. Rain, do you feel like it's going to be the sort of same as what Adrian's saying. He's going to be gone by Monday and someone else coming in. And who do you both think will come in? Who would you want to come in?
No, Dermot, big up Dermot, my mate in chat. Dermot asked me throughout the whole of October, November, December, January, is Frank getting sacked? Every single show is Frank getting sacked, and I had exactly the same answer every single show. No, and there's one reason why he's not getting sacked, and that's because, and let's be clear, I didn't think he should have been sacked, right? But I said there's one reason why he isn't being sacked, and that's because we are rudderless. There is no one making decisions, making rational decisions. There's no one who's got a clear idea of what's going on at this football club. And that's the biggest problem.
I know I'd bring in, but who would you bring in?
The biggest problem with this football club. And so for the next couple of weeks, I think we're going to be treated to more of the same. Silence and speculation. Right? And that's what we're going to get. Yeah? The reality
is that your manager? Is that your manager and assistant manager? Silence is manager.
yeah. they might not do a bad job actually. I mean, Tudor should never have been hired in the first place. Whoever's playing fantasy football and getting in people who they think might do a good job, but you know they haven't got a clue. That what you need now is common sense basics, and I would have got Sherwood in straight away. I don't care. I don't care that he hasn't, coached or managed. It really does not matter. All you need is to put a dome over that training pitch that gets the players playing in these, like Adrian, right? I don't agree with everything Adrian said, about these players, because I think it's too easy to be an international player these days, if I'm brutally honest. So I think a lot of players get an international cap when in the past, that have been head over heels if they've got 10, and these days too many get like 30 or 40. It's too much international football. But putting that to one side, these guys have been playing football for 10, 15, quite a few of them have been playing at least semi-professional level football for 10, 15 years. Yeah. But since they were in their early teens, they've been playing decent level football. They know how to play their position. They don't need to be told they shouldn't need to be told how to play their position. So just put them in their position and let them play their position. You don't need to do fancy stuff. And you know what? If you do need to do fancy stuff, then we deserve to go down because they're not good enough. So just play them in, play back. Don't play Van der Ven left back. I know people who say play Van der Ven left back. Just play him as a centre back. Play Romero as a centre back. Play Xavi as a 10. He's a left-sided inside forward. It's as clear as day, right? Just like Adrian. I'm no football expert. I've just been watching it from the stands for 45 years, right? Non-league, league, and Premier League. That's all I've been doing. But I can see what type of a player he is. So play him there. Just let him play there, right? So is a 10. Yeah, we're overloaded with 10s. We're overloaded with 8s. We're overloaded with ball carrying 8s. Just play them there. And you know what? We need a 6. Don't shoehorn Sarr into a 6. Just play Paulinho. Just play him. That's his position. So you can make things really, really complicated, or you can actually make things simple. And simple is always best.
Back to basics, I think, is what Tottenham need in a minute, definitely. Adrian, who would be your manager if you had to pick?
I'd bring in Chris Hughton. He's done it all before at Premier League level and all that, so I'd bring him in. I mean, and if Glenn wanted to come in and help him out, because Glenn's got heart conditions, and I'll put that on him, right? I'd bring Chris Hughton in. I think he'd be the right fit. Whether we well, even if the worst happened, it would still be the right fit. Knows the club. He knows the club. It's not even bringing someone with Premier experience, but he knows the club at all levels. He's managed and coached at all levels. I mean, I think not Sherwood, not enough experience. Good talker, aren't we all? But I mean, like, yeah. And yeah, I mean, players in right positions. Yeah, what ones we've got that are fit, and we've got a few coming back. I'll be glad when you Doggy, who was poor and has come back going, but I know how good that player is. I'll be glad when he gets back up to speed. Makes a big difference. Makes such a big. I mean, if you've got your Doggy on form on the left and Kudus on form on the right, that makes such a big difference to this team. It makes a phenomenal.
They need to be on form, and the problem
this is it. This was the argument in the transfer window. You Lange and Vinay Venkatesham, you're hoping these players are going to come back fit, and you're hoping they're going to hit their straps straight away. The maths don't add up with players that way all the time. It can happen, but it's rare, you know.
Yeah, 100%. So would you go with Sherwood, Rain?
I'd be quite happy with Hewan. I think Hewan's probably a better shout. Just one of these guys. Just one of these guys. It really doesn't matter. You know, I love what Sherwood's been quite vocal. They won't hide Sherwood, and he's saying all the right things. It's like just playful to just make it simple. Blah, blah. You know, just I don't care. Get them all. I don't care. Get them all. You know, get Harry. Get them all. You know, they'll all respect, as long as they respect the pecking order of the guy at the top. Between them, and I don't care. But it can't go on like it is with this. For me, this transition from Atletico Madrid to Forest is the death knell. It has to be the death knell.
Well, the whole point. I mean, like the 4-4-2 works. When it doesn't work, we tried it again. You know, we tried it as a battering ram, but anyone could see that it wasn't working. We had a lot of play in the first half till we conceded that last-minute goal in the first half, and then we continued with the same battering ram. Now that 4-4-2 wasn't working. We needed width, and we didn't have it. I mean, you switch on and you switch with Charlton, you just play them out wide. They're not ideal out wide, but they're all we got. You know, so.
But Chris, you've asked the questions. Now you got to answer it. What do you do? Who would you bring in?
Just give me Harry Redknapp at this stage. I think he's the only one that can come in, put his arm around the players and go, come on, boys. You know you can do better than this. Take them back to basics. Hopefully bring in some of that what we need. Just basic football, basic principles of how to play a game of football. And hopefully pick up a win on the first game back, or even a draw, and then just build from there. I mean, we've all been sucked in. We had a good result against Liverpool, a great performance, and a good win against Atletico Madrid. Obviously, we didn't qualify. We didn't go through to the next round. But everyone then thought, it's a no-brainer. We're going to turn up against Nottingham Forest and it's going to be a good day. And it just went completely the opposite way again. So for me, if it was me now making the decisions, I'd bring in Redknapp with Mason, Defoe, and people that are Tottenham through and through, who just want to get this club and keep us in the Premier League, and not people that are going to come in and potentially go, we're going to try this, we're going to try that, we're going to try and do what we want to do. People just going to come in and go, do you know what, boys, you're better than this. Back to basics. This is what we're going to focus on. Let's get out on the pitch and do it, and give them that confidence boost that they all need.
So it sounds like everybody expects that Tudor will probably leave, and I actually think it's probably a right decision for both, especially with the situation he's in. But it also sounds like everybody expects that the next person has some sort of relationship with Spurs previously, right?
No,
it's also got a very bad on and Langer, isn't it? Because they brought the last two in, haven't they? Right. So I'm waiting for them to go in the summer.
No, I don't think he's going to go. I think he should.
Oh, you don't?
No, I think we're going to get silence and speculation. That's what we're going to get the next 2 or 3 weeks. I don't think there's anybody making rational decisions at the top of the club. I don't think there are. I think for me, the odds if I was to look at the odds, the way that I'm going to put to one side what I think should happen, right? And I'm going to say what I think will happen. And what I think will happen is they will dither, they will skirt around, they'll flirt with people, they'll flirt with fantasy, like getting De Zerbi in for the next 7 games and have to go through a massive negotiation with him because, you know,
that's ridiculous. He wants a relegation clause and all that, didn't he?
He's going to want 15 million or something. You know, it's going to be like, you're desperate, therefore I'm going to, you know, and they're going to tie themselves up. I think we're going to end. I think the odds are in favour that Tudor will still be the coach, unless he pulls the plug. That Tudor will still be the coach when the next game comes around. That isn't what it should be, but that's what I reckon it will be. It's the same with Frank, where, you know, when everyone's going, they should have pulled the plug on Frank, but they didn't. And the reason they didn't is because nobody's making rational decisions at the club.
Well, I don't think they want to admit they were wrong. And if Tudor stays, that'll be it. They don't want to admit they're wrong. And then if the worst happens, they'll be going anyway. But if that'll mean, like, look, we've made 2 changes, you know. But
they're in a difficult position because if they. No, I'm not. Listen, it's their own fault. I do actually think. I think Rain was right in terms of Frank. I felt that anyone coming in would get some sort of bans from Frank. I think that people don't realise a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that Frank probably, with these players constantly talking about Arsenal and the negativity that actually surrounded him. I still think he would have probably picked up more points than Tudor has. So in terms of that, it is a negative sort of swap over. However, I think that if they would have impacted it and done this earlier, then we probably wouldn't be in this position anyway. But forgetting all of that, they're now in this position. You've obviously got Tudor, who's just lost his dad, which is a major, major thing for any human being. Yeah. If we keep him and we go down, there are going to be people that are looking at them and saying, how the hell did you allow a person who's going through all of that to then still try and focus on a job that he's only in for another 9 games anyway? Surely this was always going to be what was going to happen. And if they keep him in the job, then I feel like there's going to be other people that are saying you should have got rid of him on that basis because he needs to have time away. But they're never going to be able to win unless we stave off relegation and stay up. And then it's almost like every decision doesn't really matter until you know the final result.
I don't think they're going to win even if we stay up. I just think not among the fans. They might with the board because, you know, we've got no confidence in the board, have we? I mean, the others that really willed the sticks, not the main owners, are Nick Boucher and Peter Charrington, the Bahamas lawyer. But Vivian and Charlie, they're a bit clueless. I mean, you have to look. I mean, Enoch themselves with Joe Lewis, they've sat on this football club for 20 odd years. And to me, you know, they used Levy as their shield and Levy's used managers and directors of football as his shield. Well, now these shields are gone. These shields are gone now, right? Fans have seen through it. They got their wish. A lot of them got rid of Levy. I was always more, look, nothing's going to change if the ownership. The reason I was like that was simply because I was wondering, like, okay, if you want to buy players, you either borrow more money and put the club in more debt, or the alternative is you go to the major shareholder, Enoch, and you go to Levy, who's like owns 30%. You say, right, cough some money up. Well, then you might have a situation where Enoch might have been prepared to if Levy put up a third. So that's one of my angles there. Other than that, you indebt the club further, and we're $1 billion in debt, right? So, yeah. So we need new owners. Whatever happens now in the distance, relegated or not, this club needs new owners. It just needs new owners.
You forgot about the shield that was playing on the pitch as well, Adrian. Harry Kane. So Harry Kane, son. Yeah. You know, Harry Kane. Yeah, but we finished 17th with Son, right? Yeah, all the shields have gone. and the incompetence is now fully exposed. It's
But
fully
I've
out
said
there.
this before. In my job, I can pass over responsibility. I can pass that on to someone else and say this is your responsibility. What I can't pass over is accountability. Can't do that. It falls on me regardless. And that was the one thing I always said about Levy. I said Levy got Levied. Now, whether you think he was good or you think he wasn't, for me makes absolutely no difference. If you're a manager, if you're an owner of a football club, and you can see it in the media, not always 100% accurate, but we know that we missed out because we just didn't go that extra step. We didn't go the extra couple of million. We didn't go the extra 5 million, whatever it may be. And if you're sitting there knowing you've got it, you'd be turning around and saying to Levy, I don't understand why we're missing out. We've got it here. Why are we not doing it? The facts are is they was happy that he was timesing their investment by 150, 200, whatever it was. And they were happy with that. And that was the remit he was working to. It's only when they've decided that we're going a different route and they've binned him off and said, he's the reason all this has happened. And I'm like, but he was reporting into you guys. You knew that this was happening. You was happy with it for 20 odd years, because otherwise you would have just got the extra. And it was a lot of it. If you remember when this all first came out, it was, he was the one that was stopping no takeovers and everything else. One of their first jobs was to dismiss a takeover and say the club's not for sale. But only a couple of weeks previous, she was blaming Levy, saying that it's all his fault we haven't sold the club effectively. So,
and he increased the value of their investment exponentially from what they bought the club for to be worth billions now for what they paid for it. So you'd think they would have stuck their hand in the pockets, wouldn't you?
I don't agree. So in finance, we've got a thing called organic. Yeah, organic growth. And you assess that by having a look at the market conditions and having a look at your competitors and seeing, you have a look at market share, and you go through and you see how you've grown in comparison to the rest of the market. And the reality is that Spurs has just grown at the same rate as the rest of the market. So Levy has not grown Spurs in terms of to become a behemoth of a football club. We are pretty much, even taking into account where we currently are, right, in the situation that we're in. But the state of the football club, even 2 years ago when we were under Conte, was pretty much where we were. It's 5th to 8th, 5th to 10th, whatever. That's where we've been. It's just all of the growth has come from the organic growth of Premier League football over the last 25 years. Now, a lot of that's been driven by, Man City, Chelsea, the owners coming in and driving the competition up. But that's what it is. It's not that if we'd have gone from 8th under Sugar, finishing in and around, you remember, Adrian, we were 8th, 10th, 12th, right, in the 90s. And then we'd gone and we've become a juggernaut like Chelsea have become, like Liverpool, right? But we're not. We've never been that. We had a decent spell under Poch for about 3 or 4 years. That was a legacy of good recruitment by Mitchell, and that's it. That's on the pitch.
Yeah, but on the financial side, you have to look at the massive increase in revenue streams in this football club.
And a lot of that's been organic, along with the rest of the Premier League. That's why we can't pick off from a lot of these other Premier League teams anymore, because they're all equally rich.
Well, you say that, but the same, if you go and Google Spurs worldwide fan base, you get an estimate between 34 million to about 170 million. Right, there's we know there's probably a couple of billion fans out there, so you pick your choice. I mean, I'll go nearer to 34 million. I still think this club's a goldmine to tap into. And if you get an owner, say for example, you've got Elon Musk come to our football club, That'd be great, right? Richest man in the world, right? Supposedly.
I'd love
Man,
it. I'd absolutely
calls
love
the
it.
stadium the SpaceX Stadium because it looks like a spaceship, right?
Love that too. Love that. Yeah.
We're cooking with gas, right?
Yeah. I'm loving it.
But then the Sky Bar will be opened over the Paxton Road because I think that's what it's waiting for, right? And then you've got Elon Musk does business with thousands of other companies, right? Or smaller companies through his chain of companies, through his groups of companies, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You've got all them sponsors that are partners of Elon Musk. They get invited to the stadium, wine and dine to garner more business. And they think, oh shit, I want to sponsor Spurs because it's good for us financially, long term. We sponsor Spurs, we're part of the team. And like, I see one estimate, it might be Fantasyland in a report. I can't remember what the fault was or where it was, so I can't source it yet. They estimate that a football club will be worth about 12 or 13 billion pounds in about 10 years' time. But we don't know where football's going. If it goes to a European Super League or a World League or whatever, you know the sums of money will be astronomical anyway. We've already seen European clubs play in America to make money, games played in the Middle East, stuff like that, haven't we? So I only see, and another thing which you will lower, Rain, is the fact that as Tottenham becomes gentrified, the land value will go up in the area, the value of the stadium will go up, and all the land that Spurs own for building on and things like that, which they bought with money, right? You know.
Yeah.
So
which is actually what they're about. I still think a lot of our, yes, obviously, stadium, whatever, but I think the vast majority of the growth of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club has been organic. We've gone up as the Premier League has gone up.
I think it's still going to grow. It will still grow.
I think it's definitely been a part of that. I think they've obviously been very lucky with that. But then I think there's also other parts to it that a lot of the other teams in and around us have obviously had massive influx of money being put in by owners, which we obviously haven't. If you go over the years, the amount of money that's actually been put in by the owners for their own gain has actually been minimal, to say the least. Whereas Newcastle, huge amount of money, City, huge amount of money. I mean, Arsenal over a period had some decent money put into them. So all of those other clubs have had massive money put in by the owners to reap the rewards of the valuation. Whereas these owners, in terms of what they've put in, they haven't put in anywhere near the amount that some of the other clubs have, which is absolutely madness, really, when you consider it.
These owners have farmed Tottenham Hotspur football fans for the last 20 years. They've farmed us for dividends and all of that. Excuse me. All of that increase in the Tottenham Hotspur in the capital. We see very little of that. That's all. We've basically financed the increase in capital for the owners.
100%.
But
right, guys, we are gonna wrap up ever so soon. I just do want to get the one last couple of questions for Rain and for Adrian. I think Rain's half already answered one of them, but Rain, do you think that Jude will stay in charge for the rest of the season?
I don't want him to, but I think the odds are better that he will still be there, purely because of how useless. I mean, Adrian mentioned Nick Boucher. The guy has nothing to do with our club apart from being married to somebody. It's bonkers.
He's Vivian's son-in-law.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's, you know what I mean? It's
well, Levy's son has got a big job with the Taverns, got a creative job. He didn't lose.
But Nick Boucher doesn't have a job.
No, but he tends to have a say, and
that's my point, Adrian. He's like he's got no say in it. He's got no comeback. If it goes tits up, he doesn't lose any money because he's got shares.
If you believe what was rumoured, the pressure put on Vinay and Langer, or maybe it was the CEO of Vinay, to get rid of Frank didn't come from Vivian and Charlie.
Yeah.
And they're the owners. So it had to come from Nick Boucher and Peter Chariton.
And
Peter Chariton's a non-executive, but he's powerful because Taverns got worth billions, right? But so I think to answer that question, well, they were forced before, so really, if someone forces me to do my job, I'm resigning, right? But are they gonna swing the axe before their pressure's put on them again to get rid of Igor? Look, you got to do it nicely because of the bereavement, but he's got to go. I would be surprised if he stayed. I would, but with this club, club, you know, and if you're going to do it, I mean, I said it prior coming up to this status because everyone was saying, "Oh, if we lose these games, he's got to go and all that." He won Madrid at home, and like everyone was happy, thinking, "Yeah, we're going to win against Palace." We didn't, and then he's got to go. Makes you wonder if his father hadn't died, what the situation would be, you know. But sadly, his father did die. So if his father hadn't died, we might be having a more trickier conversation about this. I think he's going to go.
I actually think it makes it not easier because obviously no one wants anything like
that.
It
sounds cynical doing that, doesn't it? Or callous even, like, you know.
I think it does with you. As I say, if he was on a 3 or 4 year contract, it's slightly different because you go, right, we'll support you, take as much time out as you want, whatever. But the fact is, he's here for 9 games. His head is mentally not going to be in it. Although Chris did bring up a good point previously. Maybe some people react differently. Some people need to be busy. They don't want to.
Yeah, they mourn differently, don't they? You know, I mean, everyone mourns in their own way. Like
so. But okay. And then the last question, guys.
I mean, Luke, you know what I'm like? I'm like this, right? I'm just level like this. I'm not like this. Okay. I'm emotional in the stadium, but I'm unemotional outside the stadium. Which is why I had a particular reaction to the parade, because I didn't like it. Right. So because I see it as an emotional reaction to our situation, and I don't like that outside the stadium. Last week, after we drew against Liverpool, Sean asked chat, should Tudor now be sacked? And I can guarantee you, 90% who would have said yes on the Saturday said no on the Monday. And Sean actually called me out as one of the people who said yes. And the reason I said yes is because I still think he's rubbish, right? The getting a draw against Liverpool didn't sway me. Getting a win against Atletico Madrid didn't sway me. I'm analysing what I'm seeing, and an individual result doesn't impact my analysis of the situation and performances.
Yeah.
Do you think, like quite a few on Spurs have commentated, quite a few of the guests, that this manager decision should have been made when we lost back to West Ham?
Yeah, that was when Frank should have gone.
Yeah.
That's when Frank should have gone. For that first
I don't know
half,
nothing about Frank when he come, because I'm very Spurs centric, and all the information I get for the group and things like that. Didn't know much about till we get a manager. Then I'll be judged by others and sort of like, oh, what's his playing style, and go and look at all the info on it. But looking back at Frank, I know you wanted him to stay on longer, Luke, which was fair enough, but I just think he was awful, personally.
No, I didn't want him to stay on long. I don't think Frank should have been appointed in the first place. I don't think
and
Frank was
we
the
seem
manager.
to have the theme seems to be into football now is, if you're a manager, save your ass first. Play negative horseshit football, right? Bore the pants off everyone with throwing the odd good game. You know, as long as you finish mid-table or a bit above, or you make a little effort to challenge for a trophy, you'll be okay. I just find I don't know what the coaching system's like throughout this country. You know, we're missing all the innovative coaches are like Venables and types like that. You know, even Hoddle when he was doing it. You know, where are they? Where are the innovative coaches that can change this horseshoe shit football into a more attacking playing style? Because it's supposed to be an entertainment industry, and it's not.
Yeah. I think Luke's trying to.
Most games are a forfeit.
I think Luke's trying to wrap up, but I'm gonna carry on because I'm gonna agree with you, Adrian. Right? There's a lot of people have been going, oh, maybe Vic's hernia is the reason why he hasn't been taking goal kicks, and it's crap. It's rubbish. If you actually watch football, it's this centre back taking a goal kick, which, Adrian, in my day, that only happened if the goalkeeper had a massive
injury
problem, or in youth, in kiddie football, when the goalkeeper couldn't kick, yeah, and you had like, you had a 10-year-old and a 10-year-old, and one of the centre backs, who was a 10-year-old, was, he was a bit bigger, so he could actually kick the ball. But this centre back's taking. I've now started seeing it in the Championship. What it is coaches who've got no sense or common sense, or doing things on their own, are looking at what other people are doing and going, oh yeah, I'll copy that. And it's just like, why are you copying it? It's rubbish. Somebody in a WhatsApp group today, when I had a little bit of a rant about this, said Pep has ruined football. And I think he's absolutely right. I think everybody's.
I disagree. No. I think the men
everybody's obsessed.
Playing a few seasons ago, scoring 100 goals in a season is not ruining football.
No.
In the sense that
not
they
that.
borrow the best players. 3 or 4 teams spend the money and borrow the best players, and they're the only ones that play decent football. And everybody else is playing catch up, and it's like boring horseshoe, one side to the other side to the other side. And it's proven stat. You don't be a coach if you go and watch Football Made Simple and you watch the stats and all that. Once you get in front of that penalty area, if it takes more than 30 seconds for you to create a chance, it's not happening. Teams get set, too quickly. You're allowed to get set. Players don't know how to take a throw in.
It's not that, Adrian. It's not that Pep's team plays good football. It's that other coaches have now got to the point where they just look at Pep and they just copy it, and it's just like so we've absolutely lost what you're saying. We've lost the Venables. We've lost Hoddle. Hoddle was one of the first coaches to play 3 at the back, right? 3-5-2, and everyone was like, "This is bonkers." And now it's like an verbally acceptable formation to play. We've lost those innovative coaches because coaches now just copy what somebody further up the chain.
The problem with Pep, the reason
are more athletic is, and you get a stat at the end, who's run the most kilometers. I want to know who scored a goal. I want to know.
But the thing with Pep, the reason why he's because I used to watch when Spanish football was on Sky Sports. All I watched was Spanish football because it was on every single game, all the big teams just constantly on. So I've watched Pep and his teams play, and the way that he plays now is very different to the way that he originally played. Obviously, part of that being that he doesn't have Xavi and he has to Busquets and Messi, of course. But the other part to it is the reason why he plays that way is to get away and to negate from the positives that other teams are putting out. So he floods midfields, he brings centre fullbacks in. So the reason he's doing that is to counteract the opposition. So when the opposition then copy him, it's actually easier for him to be able to do stuff. So obviously, granted, they fell away a little bit now, but the whole idea is he doesn't do it for the sake of doing it. The reason why he plays around at the back is so that people press and therefore he can move the ball quicker going forward. So that's what's not factored in here, that the reason why the football's being played that way is to create openings, to cause press, for you to be lopsided, for him to go into space. And it's almost like he just plays that way because he plays that way. That's not the case. Like, it's absolutely not the case. He doesn't just play that way just for a laugh of it. Obviously, it's good, attractive football, but there's always a point to it.
The Man City movement, players off the ball. Normally, Anna close down quickly because they're
that's because they're great. That's because they're really good players,
moving. Right? But by the time the other player tries to close them down, the City player's gone. That's why they have the majority of the ball.
Yeah, but it's almost, Luke, if it's almost other coaches copying Pep is basically doing exactly what Pep wants them to do. Mm-hmm. Because if they go and copy him, then they're just playing his football. And that's fine because he's got the better players. And at the weekend, I'm sure you've seen some analysis of the game at the weekend against Arsenal. Pep didn't play Pep football. He did exactly what you said. He was like this. He went, "I'm going to play slightly different," and he just completely negated Arteta, who's just copied Pep. Yeah. And Arteta's team had nothing. They had nothing to come up against it, and Man City won.
and that's what with Arteta, again, people say that the football's really, really poor and everything else. But when he first came around, that wasn't the idea. The idea was he wanted to be a Pep disciple. He wanted to play that football, and he looked at it and went, I can't play Pep's football because Pep's the best at it. So that's the reason why he's negated away from Pep style, because he knows he's not going to beat the master at it, which is why he's moved away from it. And now it's seeding them results. Obviously, there's been a part of it where Kevin De Bruyne has left and the quality of City's decreased and Arsenal's have gone up a level. But he's looked at it and realised that actually Pep's style of play is so individual, it's so perfected in a way that he's not going to be able to match them heights, which is why he's gone to this style, which kind of goes into what Adrian's saying in terms of going against the grain. I'm going to go against it. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to find a different way. And that's why we're in the situation that we're in. So I just wish Spurs would be able to do that. Find someone that can be.
And Cherky and Dorku, who was brilliant against Liverpool in that game when he just destroyed them. That was a good few weeks ago. But he seems to bring players in at non-extortionate prices into the club, don't he? And they sort of stuttered a bit, but they seem to have found their rhythm a bit recently, which is good for us Spurs fans. Hoping that by some miracle they'll pep Arsenal still. They got a plan.
I hope Semenyo has the form of the first, like the start of the season. I hope Haaland hits his form now. They're all out of the Champions League and they can just focus on the league.
They got Guay in as well. I mean, look at the players they brought. We couldn't get in one elite player, and we got no chance of getting any elite players in there.
Forget about elite. All we needed was some decent. We couldn't even get them because Langer couldn't see any. I don't know if he was walking around with shades on or what.
Maybe
Gary is wrong.
Maybe they should use the staff we've got at the club that getting all the youngsters for the academy, because we've brought in some cracking players, admittedly at their levels, right? But they are superb. I mean, I enjoy watching the under-21s more than I'd rather watch them on Spurs play, even if there's a Premier League game on. I'm watching the under-21s or the under-18s.
Yeah, I agree. I enjoy watching the under-18s. I think they're brilliant. Some of the players in there and the under-21s, it's really good to watch. But again, they're only going to develop if they've got good experienced pros. They've got a good solid foundation. They've got leaders, exactly what we've just discussed throughout the whole thing. Rain is absolutely right and Gary is absolutely wrong. Luke is looking to wrap up now. So I've got one final question. It's not going to be a late night, Gary, because we are wrapping up. Do Spurs manage to stay up? Adrian, I'm going to start with you.
We've got 7 games, haven't we? We've got Brighton, Leeds, Everton at home. We've got Villa, Chelsea, Wolves, and who else? Who's the other one away? Wolves, Chelsea, Villa.
Leeds.
Leeds is at home. Leeds, Brighton, and what's not home? See, again, all the games are hard when you're in a position we're in, but, you look at that, you think there's got to be points there. You've got to get 9 points out of the last 7, surely, and get you past the 40.
Sunderland away.
Sunderland at home. Sunderland away next year.
Yeah. Wolves away. Wolves away. Villa away. Leeds at home. Chelsea away. And then last game of the season, Everton at home.
Yeah. So
we stay up.
Chelsea are very erratic, but we never get anything there. Villa, we used to have a decent record at Villa. Not sure what we turn up there. If you're looking at Leeds at home, Everton at home, we've got our most successful team we play, but 3 teams in the Premier League that we play against are actually Everton, West Ham, and Man City. Man City the second. I think Everton are the most team we've got the most points against. You don't want to go to the last match of the season. I was there when we beat Leeds 4-2, when we stayed up on the last game of the season in the 70s. To me, if the confidence crashes, there's fight in this team. We've seen fight in it, right? But if the confidence crashes, then we are doomed. But one win, get a result at Sunderland, win a home game. Suddenly, things, and Kuda's coming back. And you dog, you're vital. I think they're absolutely vital. They give us balance left and right.
I think Adrian's saying we're staying up, Rain. What do you reckon? I think he's saying we'll get 1 win and we stay up.
I think Adrian's walked all the way round the topic. He's walked all the way around the topic, and funnily enough, I think Adrian's finally got to the key matter, which is, do West Ham get Somerville and keep Bowen on the pitch, and do we get Kudus, and do we get some rational squad selection into our team, like getting Gallagher and Paulinho more game time alongside Gray and Xavi. That's what's going to make the difference. So do we get Kudus on the pitch? Do we get Xavi playing like he did against Atletico Madrid when he scored one of his goal where he linked up with Archie Gray was absolute dynamite. What a goal that was! Right, that was a thing of beauty. That was. But can West Ham get Somerville and Bowen on the pitch? Because it's going to come down to who's less shit, us or West Ham.
Well, I think we'll start. I think, funnily enough, the extra point we got and the few extra goals and the goal difference, they make the big difference. The goal difference is like having another point, basically. So I think
there's a couple of surprise results. And
I don't know what results West Ham have got, or even Forest, because they're not out of it. I think Leeds will start, funnily enough.
Yeah, and if I think it's between us and West Ham, I don't think anybody else is in it. And if they get a new coach in who makes rational decisions, I think you'll see a surprise result like we beat Villa, something like that, something bonkers. I predicted the Liverpool draw. Obviously I wanted us to beat Forest, but I think you'll see. Everybody likes to do. I think that's what will happen. I think we'll beat Villa, or we'll get a surprise
and then lose to Leeds or something like that.
Exactly, yeah. And that's what will keep us up. I think that, and I think we will stay up. But it really depends if we can get Kudus and if we can get a coach who makes rational decisions, not these bonkers decisions.
Yeah, I agree. Robbie, Kulu's leg is actually not as bad as first feared. He came out and had an operation a couple of weeks ago, which meant he was suffering. But he's just come out. There's just some quotes that have just come out, and it almost sounds like he's hinting that he will be playing for Sweden in 2 to 3 months. So, because he's talking about their qualifiers and all this, that, and the other, and he doesn't say I will be playing, but he's saying I'm feeling really positive with the 2 important matches coming up and a World Cup in a couple of months. So
yeah, he just had a little bit of debris removed from his knee that was lurking around. It was a little minor bit of microscopic.
Let's just hope that it wasn't. Let's hope it wasn't Spurs that were doing that procedure, because they might have took his leg off or something, knowing Spurs' medical team.
I hope that's the case, and I hope it's not like an old punch-drunk boxer who refuses to accept that he should retire.
No, he'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree. Right, guys, we are going to wrap it up there. Despite Rain and Adrian's best efforts to keep it going and going and going, we're going to wrap it up there. And thank you all for joining. It's been a real good one. Whenever you do these kind of call-in shows, you never know who's going to turn up, what we're going to go, where avenue we're going to go down. But we've gone from the last relegation fight we had to Adrian being there. We've gone to Poch. We've gone absolutely everywhere. We've covered the history of Tottenham Hotspur tonight. And
I might do a historical perspective from 1882, actually. During this quiet period, I might do one.
There you go. Go and make sure you subscribe to Spurs Diehards, because they'll be doing a history on Spurs very soon. Guys, thank you all very much. It's a tough time supporting Spurs. So make sure you go and sub in and like into all of the Tottenham creators, particularly, obviously, Spurs Diehards. Please make sure you go over and subscribe. Thank you all for watching. And hopefully Adrian's right and we manage to somehow stay up. Last thing, guys, as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.